And now we take you to an isolated log cabin aloft the cold and snowy Alps, where our two heroes, Frankie Boyle and Miles Japp, live and work. Do you understand? If you picture Miles buried up to his neck in sand on a hot and sunny beach, whilst Frankie samples the local hallucinogenic rum, you have completely misunderstood. Once again, they are in an isolated log cabin aloft the cold and snowy Alps. The days are long, the nights are long, but in the midst of this permanent winter there stands a pan-reality interdimensional safe house, which is home to convenience, value, and customer service. Welcome to Frankie and Miles's Alpine Convenience Store and Celebrity Retreat. Time to open up the door to our Alpine Convenience Store and Celebrity Retreat, Miles. Ah!
Frankie! Don't actually open the door, Frankie. Just turn the sign around like this. We can get letters now.
Yeah, but stop the wind. Thanks. Right. Ready for business.
Where's that statue of the cat?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it for ages. I think it was a cat.
Really? I wonder how it got out.
I wonder how it got in.
Really? I don't care about that at all.
OK, let's have a look at the ledger. If there's anything that's not been selling, we ought to devise a selling strategy for it.
Open the ledger then. We should get that seen to.
Yes, it's always making a noise like an enormous creaking barn door opening.
Well, looking at the ledger, it's clear that nothing's been selling that well. Although it's quite hard to say anything specific.
Why?
Because we haven't actually written anything in the ledger.
What, nothing?
Well, there's some drawings, doodles really, and fragments of a song about hating silences. It's quite good, but it doesn't really tell us anything about the shop.
I think it says everything about the shop.
Well, it does tell us that we have a lot of time on our hands.
Oh yeah, we've got loads of time on our hands. Yesterday I knitted a puma, and then I just unravelled it again. Well, I didn't have to unravel it. It caught itself on a nail when it was jumping for me.
It was attacking you?
No, it was just jumping for me. It was a performing puma. Unfortunately, jump was the only actual command that it understood. All the other things it understood were really quite abstract philosophical concepts. It had this terrifyingly lucid grasp of Cartesian dualism. I was quite disappointed when it unravelled, although the puma itself would have seen that as meaningless.
I'll just close the ledger. We should get that seen to.
Yeah, it always makes that noise like an enormous creaking barn door slamming shut.
I was looking around the bins earlier. I think the deer monks have been at them.
What makes you say that?
I could see them. They're still there. They're worse than the foxes.
Oh, much worse. I mean, they're over 6 foot tall, with the body of a man and the head of a proud stag.
Do you know what? All this talk of bin raking has made me surprisingly hungry. And the fact that I've not eaten today.
I'm hungry too. All I ate yesterday were 8 luxury chocolates. Let's have a sketch.
Nothing fancy, mind. Just something simple like 2 other blokes talking.
Kids, eh?
Oh, tell me about it, tell me about it.
Honestly, the money we spend on them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All these fads, these phases.
That's right, fads, phases.
I mean, what's there been? Optimus Prime.
Transformers, that's right.
What else? Game Boy.
Nintendo.
Buzz Lightyear. Tamagotchi.
And then, of course, it was miniature humans, wasn't it?
Yeah, Kevin's got one.
Who's that, then?
Harrison Ford, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, it was bloody expensive. And again, I suppose there is only one miniature Harrison Ford.
What does he get up to?
To be honest, a lot of the time he's just resting. He is 60. Otherwise, he's out at miniature premieres, miniature showbiz parties. Most of the time I can only reach him through his miniature publicist.
Not a great toy, then?
Oh, he's all right. At Christmas he acted out Raiders of the Lost Ark on top of the telly.
Really?
He changed it a bit. One of the characters seemed like a satirical version of me.
I think that's very rude of him.
I got my own back. I hid the Han Solo figurine in his bed. He thought he was having an out-of-body experience.
Oh, brilliant. We got no bonuses this year, so we could only afford to buy Dad and 2 miniature men on the dole. One's all right, but he just sleeps all day, you know. I think the other one's working, though. On the quiet, I mean.
Really? And he's still claiming miniature gyros?
Oh, yes.
Well, I think you should throw him to the cat.
It's funny you should say that, Pat, but I think the cat's with him.
With him? You think the cat's claiming as well?
No, what a ridiculous notion. What I mean is, he's got mind control over the cat.
Mind control?
Yeah, he rides about on the cat's back all day, waving a spear.
A miniature spear?
Well, that's what's so worrying. It's about 8 feet long.
He must have the strength of a miniature ox.
It's not just the cat. I'm starting to worry about my wife. She seems a bit distant and mine's somewhere else. We're sleeping in separate rooms.
Surely all rooms are separate. Otherwise you just have no privacy.
Fair point.
What does Darren make of it all?
Well, he's lost interest in them, hasn't he? You know what kids are like. He's moved on to something else.
He's had a glass face fitted.
Yeah.
Kids, eh?
That was a bit dry, actually.
I wasn't listening. I was doing one of the voices.
Were you Pat or were you Dave?
Pat.
Yeah, me too.
Who played Dave then?
What, nobody played Dave? Or maybe he was added in during the edit.
Has this been edited?
Well, it can't have been. We're still talking.
Unless we're on a 5-second delay.
Well, are we?
Must be.
They could have told us.
Maybe they have. We've just not heard it yet.
Then some of our stuff won't appear in its logical order.
The Knights of the Dominican.
You may now kiss the bride.
Miles?
Yes, Frankie?
Listen, you know how Dennis Bergkamp is afraid of flying and travels to Arsenal's away games in Europe by car?
No, but carry on.
Well, apparently he's learnt so much in these journeys that he's doing a radio series about all the archaic knowledge he's developed. It's called Dennis Bergkamp's Fear Brings Knowledge. Hi, I'm Dennis Bergkamp, the Arsenal player. Did I ever tell you guys about how I learnt about medieval French barrel leaping? It was on a drive to Marseille for a tricky second-leg tie in the UEFA Cup. I was driving through a village near Lyon. A little out of my way, perhaps. The guys can't really be bothered researching this joke properly. It was the feast of Saint Sebastian, and I was privileged to see that little village's annual custom of running down a hill, being pursued by barrels. It was a thrilling spectacle. Sure, there were many terrible, terrible injuries, but I took something from that day. Holding the spine slightly straighter allows a higher, more forceful leap from a standing position. I was later able to use that knowledge at a corner in the game against Marseille. Knowledge taken from medieval times and translated into our own through the medium of the shelf. And 2-0 to the Arsenal. It's a fantastic programme, that.
I prefer Genetic Potentialism with Ryan Giggs.
I think that's a bit special interest. Hang on, it's the forecast.
Here is the forecast for the next 17 minutes. Series potential 2, falling. Arrival of celebrity 8, shortly. Dear Monk attack 29, definite. End of forecast and one of those boys speaking 2, doubtful.
They're not very accurate, those things, are they?
Can we help, Mrs. Higgins? Or shall we wait until your breathing becomes more regular and you can speak?
Oh, come on, Mrs. Higgins, what do you want?
It's just that I didn't get my paper today.
We don't deliver papers or sell them.
Yes, we only sell our own paper, which we write ourselves. Oh, look, you're on the front page. Mrs. Higgins is still under the misapprehension that we deliver or sell papers other than this one.
It's not really for me. In fact, I don't really know what it is. Bye!
I can't believe that she walks 20 miles every day to be told that we don't sell papers. Still, it keeps her fit and really quite badly injured.
Used to play bass for Pink Floyd, though. She's quite an interesting person, don't you think?
No, and I think it was the drums.
I didn't think people still bought newspapers.
I've paid to have 24-hour lies beamed directly into my eyes. My eyes!
And now for a legal update, we go over to Alan Tide, who's at the Sheriff's Court. Hello, Alan.
Hello, Steve. Events here today could certainly be described as surprising. In what was supposed to be a routine traffic offence hearing, 43-year-old Richard Mellons from Glasgow had been charged with speeding in a built-up area. He pleaded not guilty to this charge and denied even being in the area. At the time of his alleged speeding offence, he was, he said, out with a friend helping him dispose of a corpse.
I imagine this caused something of an outcry in the courtroom, Alan.
Indeed, Steve. He named the friend concerned as Davy McRae, and pointed him out in the public gallery. Mr. McRae looked a little embarrassed, but confirmed the defendant's story. There was no way Mr. Mellons could possibly have been seen using his car on the night in question, because he was in Mr. McRae's van transporting the corpse. Mr. Mellons only has a small hatchback, which, as you know, is quite unsuitable for carrying bodies.
Absolutely, unless they've been partially dismembered.
Quite right, Steve.
How did things develop, Alan?
The judge asked who the corpse was. Mr. Mellons replied that he had no idea. It was probably just another random. Asked if that meant he was in the habit of murdering people and disposing of their corpses, Mr. Mellons replied, "No, I just help Davy get rid of them. He can murder people on his own, but when it comes to burial and the like, he's always grateful for a spare pair of hands."
How often did the pair say this sort of thing had occurred?
Mr. Mellons thought it was about 10. Mr. McRae thought it was somewhere nearer 20. In the end, they agreed that it was probably somewhere in the middle. The day's proceedings ended with the judge, Justice Lionel Tooke, playing an acoustic version of All Along the Watchtower. He would normally play it on an electric, but was, he said, having a spot of bother with his reverb pedal.
Alan Tide, our legal correspondent. Now, have you ever wondered where cheese comes from? We sent Polly Gecko to spend a day at a processed cheese factory in Rosyth.
Morning, Mr. Keith.
Morning.
You're well?
No, I'm bloody terrible. Absolutely bloody terrible.
What's the matter?
I was taken hostage again this week.
Again?
That's right. I was taken hostage by a group of opera singers.
What did they want?
I've no idea. It was all in Italian.
Ah, well, unlucky. What can we do for you today?
I just popped in to see if I'd won the cake decorating competition.
Miles, has Mr. Keith won the cake decorating competition?
I don't think so.
I'm sorry, Mr. Keith.
Well, who won then?
To be brutally honest, Mr. Keith, we don't actually have a cake decorating competition.
What? Isn't that a bit like the joke about not having a paper?
Shh! This one's about cakes.
Well, everybody thinks you have a cake decorating competition.
Do they? That explains why people keep sending us cakes.
Although I've never actually noticed that any of the cakes were decorated.
That's right. I largely eat them blindfolded. Could you describe your cake in terms of, say, how moist it was?
Well, it was sort of quite moist.
Oh, yeah, I know the one. In fact, we were only sent one cake this week.
Better luck next time, Mr. Keith.
Next time? What next time? I thought you said you didn't have a cake decorating competition.
We don't, but we always eat the cakes.
What the bloody hell was that?
That's Gordon the Griffin. He's responsible for bringing the retreating celebrities.
Well, I'm not hanging around. I see them as a foreboding of great doom. Unless there's two together, that means you're going to come into money.
Hello, boys. I've brought you a celebrity. It's Greg Hemphill.
It's Hemphill.
Anyway, here he is.
How are you, Gordon?
I'm terribly depressed. I can't set riddles anymore. Everyone just looks them up on the internet. Hemphill here simply looked it up on some sort of Palm Pilot and said, "Is it a baby, a man and a donkey?" Well, it was close enough. You know what the internet's like.
It's Hemphill.
Gone in all day, that Hemphill. Ha 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 ha.
Why are you laughing? I've never really got that. Well, the other one wrote that. Yeah.
No, I like the other one. Anyway, I've got to go now. My wife's just laid an egg, and I've got to go and sit on it for 3,000 years.
So, Greg Hemphill, rector of Glasgow University, how are you?
Look, I'm not just a rector, I'm also a comedian.
Just a rector? That's not a very good way of looking at it. It's a very important job, Greg Hemphill.
What's it like being a rector? Difficult job, I imagine. I've watched your popular double act, Chewing and Fat, several times, and I've always wanted to ask you, what are you going to do about tuition fees?
Well, I think it's important that area is looked at by people that really know what they're talking about, you know, not just a comedian who's interested in hanging around and drinking with students and getting off with their wee buds. This is a pilot, right?
Why does it take so long to matriculate?
Yeah, that's true as well. But, you know, these people have it easy with all their snap faxes and 10% off everything and all these wee buds hanging around needing seeing to... It's non-broadcast, right?
Why do you need to come to our celebrity retreat, Greg Hemphill?
Hemphill. I'm tired of people coming up to me in the street and shouting my catchphrases. It's a load of old rubbish. I don't even remember doing a sketch about Smarmy Tadger.
So you need a rest, Greg Hemphill?
Quite depressed. I've been trying to fight crime and it's just not been going so well. I'm getting my balls booted out there, boys. Taking the costume back to the shop's been a nightmare. What with all the stab marks and stuff. You know, it would just appear that no one's afraid of pirates these days.
Really?
I spent all my money from chewing the fat on a Gregmobile and a house full of mad gadgets. I'm digging a basement to house my 3 supercomputers. I've rigged them all up to dial 999 if my heart stops beating. To be honest, I know nothing about martial arts. I just drive the Gregmobile straight at the wee diddies.
Is that really a sensible way to spend your income, Greg Hemphill?
Well, you know, people think when you're famous you go a bit daft with your cash, but you really need to make sure that your family's prepared for the future, you know? I mean, making sure that you can flee the earth in the event of a nuclear holocaust, that sort of thing.
Great. I hope your stay here is extremely relaxing.
Well, I hope that it's extremely short. As soon as I've cheered up, I'm going to get the next Griffin out of here.
He seems like quite a nice bloke.
That's rare for someone in a position of responsibility. Martin, can you come into my office, please?
Yes, sir.
Martin, could you explain to me what you're wearing?
I know what you're going to ask me, sir.
Well, Martin...
It's a monkey suit, sir.
Yes, I can hear it's a monkey suit.
Are you intimidated by my agility, sir?
No, Martin. I'm worried both by and for you.
I'm getting a lot of work done, actually. A lot of it's with my feet. Makes me enjoy photocopying more.
Can you explain why you're wearing a monkey suit, Martin?
Mrs. Lewis is coming in later to look at her husband's will.
Mrs. Lewis?
That's right.
Why on earth do you think that dressing as an admittedly astonishingly lifelike monkey will be appropriate?
Well, because her husband only died last week. She'll probably be a bit upset.
Right, Martin. I'm not entirely sure that I follow your logic.
Have you ever tried scowling at a monkey?
Well, no.
Everyone smiles at a monkey.
I'm not smiling, Martin.
I think you want to, sir.
I'm not smiling, Martin.
I think you're going to.
I'm not smiling, Martin.
You're smiling on the inside.
If I was smiling on the inside, Martin, then my face would have to be inside my body, and I would be in agony.
You're going to smile, sir.
Look, Martin, 27 years ago, I promised your mother that I would look after you, even though I had absolutely no idea who either you or she were. Go.
Right, sir. Hello, Mrs. Lewis. Sorry to hear about your husband. Hey, but look at this, eh?
I wish everyone would stop trying to cheer me up.
I'm not sure we really need to buffer between sketches.
Next.
Can I have a ticket to Salisbury, please?
Oh, yes, it's lovely at this time of the year. Oh, no, hang on, that's last month I was thinking of. I mean, I wasn't thinking of Salisbury, I was thinking of Guam. Or the Maldives. I can't remember which, smoking or non.
No smoking, please.
No, they're all smoking.
Why did you say smoking or non-smoking, then?
I was thinking of something else entirely.
Right. Well, can I get a ticket, please?
Single return?
How much more is the return?
It's not more, it's less.
Really?
Yes.
How bizarre. Well, I'm not planning on returning, but if it's cheaper...
Oh, no, you have to return.
Why?
Because when you get to Salisbury, the doors won't open. It'll just come straight back.
The doors won't open?
No, not at stations, no. They're open for the rest of the journey. Well, they have to be. Everybody's smoking. It'll be unbearable.
Is there any benefit to this service at all?
There is a trolley service. That said, it only operates in the front 3 carriages.
Well, what about if I get a single? Will I be able to get off at Salisbury?
Oh, yes. Not the station itself, obviously. But if you time your jump right, you can land pretty near to the station. Remember to roll.
So none of your trains actually stop at Salisbury Station?
No. They used to, but we had a lot of trouble with people getting on and off.
Well, is there any way I can get to Salisbury safely? Is there a bus?
Madam, this is a train station. Would you go to a baker and ask for a handful of beef? Would you go to an antique shop to buy a DVD player?
Oh, come on, be reasonable.
Would you leave a note on your doorstep saying, "Dear travel agent, 2 economy flights to Orlando"? Would you? Would you pop into your local library to buy a dog? Would you employ Gary Bushell to complete some 14th century lattice work?
Please, can I just buy a ticket to Salisbury?
We're closed at 2:15.
What have you been doing for the last 10 minutes?
Humouring you.
No, you haven't.
Sorry, my mistake. I've been humouring myself. Anyway, can't stay. I've got to write a letter to my MP. Want him to deliver 3 pints of semi and a family-sized yoghurt.
It's got curry in here, man. It's all right, isn't it?
Welcome. Can we help at all? We're just browsing, like. We can't afford to buy stuff, like, so we always come up on special browsing holidays, like, man.
Aye, browsing holidays, like, man. It's good up here, aye.
What did they just say?
I don't know. It sounded like Chaucer. Maybe they're minstrels. Let's clap every time they speak.
The short one looks like a tumbler. Do you think that they'd dance if I threw coins at them?
Probably.
I'll try £1, see what it does.
No, try 5p. I know it's worthless, but they're usually shinier. They'll like that.
OK, I'll throw them a handful.
You don't
what's going on? That's
The hell are you doing? You're throwing coins at us. That's no way to treat non-paying customers. This is very far from canny.
It hasn't worked. It just makes them speak louder.
Throw more.
Good idea. I'll throw 20s this time.
You're packing it with your
not
throwing
real,
coins,
that's a
man. That's a disgrace.
We're leaving. This is just really strange.
I am going home, man.
you
That's
looking at
ridiculous.
this mountain, man?
Treat your customers like that.
That was just really strange. I am the Deer Mank Herald.
You're not very good at the trumpet.
I think I do extremely well, considering I've got the face of a deer. And as you can imagine, fingering is a nightmare with these hooves.
What news, Herald?
I'm heralding the arrival of the Deer Monks. Ta-da! Job done. Arm yourself, Frankie. We'll have to fight them off.
We better check that they don't just want to buy stuff.
Oh, good thinking. How do we check?
Are you just here to buy stuff? No. The only concepts we even understand in your dimension are truth, virginity, and good value. We find your goods slightly overpriced and shop-worn, and your returns policy is terrible. In our dimension, the phrase statutory rights means so much more.
See if they've got any virgins.
Just a minute. Do you actually have any virgins for sale?
We do, but they're a little shop-worn.
Then we shall destroy you. People from your dimension are just evil. Oh, don't be so dimensionalist. That's typical of the treatment we receive here. I thought we'd left that stuff behind in the 1970s, the one where Germany won the war. We're going to attack you. Quite soon. Oh, yes.
It's those damn drums, Frankie. It's when they stop, that's when you got to worry.
There are no drums.
I wish we had swords. Oh, phew. Nice work, Frankie.
I think they got me.
Really?
No, my mistake. I'm fine.
Oh, that's good. I'd struggle to run the shop without you. I think I could manage the mathematical and organisational side of things, but you are very useful when it comes to lifting boxes.
Well, it's probably time we shut the shop.
We've only been open half an hour.
No, this has been edited highlights.
Oh, marvellous. I hope they're kept in all the singing.
Yeah, it'd be a bit silly if they cut Sting and left in Greg Hemphill.